A technical model is an ideal performance or technique that is effective and can be idealized if it is seen as a perfect technique. Or on the other hand, it can be used to show what you should not be doing if it is easier to explain that way. However, most of the time, a technical model is something that is seen as the ideal or perfect technique for a particular performance or even a small fraction of a performance. Technical models are used all the time, particularly for highly technical and intricate sports such as pole vault. Using pole vault as an example, it is considered one of the most technical sports because there are 5 primary parts to each jump. However, broken down into detail, there are suddenly 36 different parts to every jump. All these 36 parts happen within the space of 10 seconds. Within the technical model, there is more qualitative feedback and implementation than mechanical because you are directly comparing their performance to a model, a perfect one. Qualitative, qualitative data describes how the performance is done using detail and various cues that can impact the athlete's performance without using numerical methods of explanation, as well as giving examples and specific details of the circumstances of the performance and the conditions they were under, with which is useful particularly in a match situation. The primary reason that a technical model is used in favor of other methods is because it uses more detail than other methods, as well as being able to directly compare it side by side visually with the perfect model of the technique needed to enhance performance. A technical model can be found in many places. There are often technical models written out by the national governing body of a sport about a specific skill within their coaching manual for the sport. There are also online academic literature pieces on skills within the specific sport that will attempt to also explain how the skill is performed. However, there is a variation in the credibility of each of these pieces of literature, as it will not have been checked as many times. If someone has an unorthodox technique that was very successful, then you wouldn't spend loads of time teaching them the technical model, particularly if they weren't performing at an elite level. However, if it was an unsuccessful technique or they were playing at an extremely high level, then you would consider either tweaking it slightly or relearning a new technique that might work better for them in the future. You also would not teach these unorthodox techniques to a beginner, as it will potentially confuse them and impact their performance negatively. There are a few ways to determine and gather enough information to almost create your own technical model. These ways to determine a perfect model are literature and elite level athlete based. A combination or subjective. Literature based is created by reading about the perfect technique and researching it, looking for key keywords to use with an athlete to help their performance. The elite level athlete-based approach is done by analyzing professional athletes in their field and using parts of different athletes' jumps to create what you believe is the perfect model and basing it off current successful elite level athlete in their sport. A combination is self-explanatory in the way that it uses both literature and elite level athlete-based performances and combines the two to create what is then believed to be the perfect performance. Finally, a subjective method is where you interchange what method you use based on several things, such as the athlete, the competition, the environment, and the preference of coach, etc. All of these methods have positives and negatives to them, making them more and less effective in different circumstances. For literature, the positives are that there is already a given way of explaining the perfect model to an athlete since it is all written out. However, it does not provide an image of the perfect model, meaning that it can be hard to visualize the perfect model when trying to be achieved. The elite level athlete based approach is an opposite to literature in the way that it's good because it provides a visual model. However, it does not explain it in a way that you are able just to directly transfer it to personal experiences. A combination is good because it gives both a visual and a written model, but it can be difficult to bring together into one final model because there are so many different sources and pieces that you have to bring together and combine with written descriptions that may not match the visual model trying to be achieved. A subjective approach, I believe that subjective approach is the best because it provides both written and visual models. However, they are not all used at once, as it depends on the athlete and the coach combination on what will be most effective for that specific coach and athlete at the specific time. Based on this conclusion, I believe that a subjective approach is the best because, for example, one athlete may be beginner or physically incapable of completing the technique asked of them currently, which may demotivate them and knock their confidence a bit. It could also interfere with something else within the performance that the coach has been trying to implement, meaning that they may get confused between the different focus points. There are then 3 phases of a performance. There is preparation, execution, and recovery. The chosen skill is the takeoff in pole vault. There are 3 main parts to the skill: preparation, execution, and recovery. There is also a model of the perfect takeoff that is used as a base model that coaches adapt based on what they prefer and what is easier for the athlete himself. The perfect model has coaching points such as having your arms up before your foot hits the floor on the last step, making sure that you hold the position until you start the swing. You must also drive your body upwards, not forwards, starting with pushing your arms upwards to allow space between you and the pole. The last main coaching points of the takeoff is to keep your trunk stable and solid, to keep balance and the direction of the jump going in the correct way. The preparation phase of the pole vault takeoff is where the athlete should start to move their arms towards the takeoff position a few steps out from the plant. This is so that the impact that the athlete will feel in their back and shoulders is lessened, as well as being able to prepare for the takeoff a lot better, so the rest of the jump will be a lot smoother due to this preparation from the takeoff. Without the preparation on takeoff, the athlete is a lot more likely to become injured, and the jump is a lot more likely to be a failed attempt, because the jump will be harder for the athlete to control and be able to efficiently work in time with the pole. The execution of the takeoff in the vault is where the athlete jumps off the ground and the pole hits the back of the box, and all the impact goes through the pole, bending it to create energy in the pole for it to recoil and release energy, shooting the athlete in the air, providing they are in the right position themselves technically. This is also the stage where the athlete should throw both their arms in the air and push upwards to create the space between them and the pole for them to be able to effectively perform the rest of the jump. The athlete will also hold their legs in the position shown to create a drive phase so that they will make the bed safely before they go upwards. In terms of recovery for the takeoff in pole vault, it is difficult because it goes straight into the swing, so the recovery is essentially the start of the next skill. This is where the athlete will start to swing into the inversion and begin to roll over the pole. This will start to make the energy created from takeoff peak before the pole starts to release all the energy it has built up by recoiling. The athlete will also start to rock back, and some athletes choose to tuck when they swing back to generate more momentum. A lot of the shorter vaulters choose to do this because their levers are not as long, meaning they will find it hard to generate momentum with a straight-legged swing. The next skill that I've chosen is a jump shot in basketball. The perfect technical model of a jump shot in basketball, like most skills, has 3 different phases. These phases are the preparation phase, the execution phase, and the recovery phase. The perfect model shows that a good preparation phase would include the performer bending their knees to a 45-degree angle whilst your elbow is bent to a 90-degree angle with your dominant hand on top of the ball and your other hand supporting the ball from the side. The final part of the preparation phase is drawing your arms back and upwards until the elbow of your dominant hand has reached your eye level. In comparison to the model, my performer's preparation phase could be improved because they do not bend their knees quite enough. The perfect model suggests a 45-degree angle. The performer has achieved this angle, but just a bit later than they possibly should have, because based on the perfect model this could mean that it would be harder for the performer to generate enough power in the shot. Compared to the perfect model, the performer's arms are not in a good position either, as they do have their arm bent to a 90-degree angle, meaning they would be able to get a good range of motion from this position, as well as the amount of accuracy in the shot. However, it may not help them in terms of being able to efficiently get the power, since they do not draw their arms back enough. And then going to the drawback of the arms specifically itself, the performer does attempt to do this. However, they do not quite draw their arms back far enough, which is most likely hindered them in the amount of power they can get on the shot, therefore making it more difficult for them to execute successfully. Next, the execution phase of the perfect model jump shot illustrates that the performer should jump and then extend their arms upwards and flick their wrist. This is mainly to get the power needed to be able to effectively shoot. It is also important that they do it highly, because it will not only have more chance of beating the defenders, but it will also mean that the ball will be coming downwards towards the net and not at the angle where it is more likely to go in the hoop, as the angle will be flatter instead of an arc. In comparison, my performer doesn't jump, meaning they will lack some of the power needed for the shot, as well as a slight disadvantage due to the angle they will be able to create will not be as good as if they were to jump. The performer does extend their arms, however, it is not high enough, meaning that the ball will not have as much chance of going in the hoop, because it will not be coming from a downwards angle from an arc, as it will be going more forwards than anything, therefore closing the angle down. Finally, the recovery phase of the perfect model shows that the performer should hold their wrist position once the ball has left their hands to make sure that there is a high level of accuracy on the shot. It also shows that the performer will land from their jump after releasing the ball. The performer does well in holding their hand position, ensuring that the accuracy of the ball is going towards the net. Despite this, the performer wasn't able to complete the landing, as they never jumped in the first place, which will have sacrificed some power on the shot, meaning that it may not be as accurate in terms of distance.